Heyo, what's up YouTube? Quick video. We are gonna be running down through patch 12.1 notes. So the first patch of season 12. And patch highlights. Rek'Sai nerf, Sona nerf, Diana buff, Gangplank buff. Some changes to some items and some bonus information at the bottom. So let's just get into the first champion buff. So passive AP ratio and monster damage ratio increased for Diana, so it goes from AP ratio being 40 to now being 50, and the monster damage ratio goes from 250 to 300 on her passive. So pretty nice buff for Diana in the jungle. A very much needed buff, so I'm actually kinda happy to see a buff for Diana, because I was a big fan of Diana jungle when she got buffed and she was overpowered in the jungle. So if she is, I wouldn't say she becomes viable because of this, because there's simply so many other good champions in jungle, but it does make her a little bit better if you do end up deciding going for Diana jungle. So a very much needed buff, and yeah, let's just move on to Gangplank. Gangplank, Q mana cost and cooldown reduced, so his Q mana cost was from 60 to 40 and now goes from 55 to 35. So it loses 5 flat mana cost, and the cooldown goes from 5 seconds down to 4.5 seconds. So Gangplank's win rate in solo queue is terrible, but the champion is not terrible. It just requires a bunch of mechanics in order to like put your barrels properly, and then it has insane scaling. Like the champion is really good, but also requires mechanics. And a lot of people that don't have mechanics are picking a champion, which brings the win rate down. So I actually don't know why Gangplank gets buffed. I'm assuming it's just because Riot looks at win rate and then they say, oh, Gangplank has had a low win rate for quite a while, and let's try and buff him. So not a needed buff, and the Gangplank one tricks out there just become a little bit more annoying to deal with in laning phase, and are still gonna be just as scary late game as they were before. So now let's move on to some nerfs. Rek'Sai, unburrowed E damage adjusted, burrowed E cooldown increased late. So the Furious Bite goes from 50 to 90 with an 85% bonus AD ratio to 55 to 75 and still 85% bonus ratio. So it just scales less, and the tunnels get increased later on. So it goes from 26, or it used to go from 26 to 14 seconds, now it goes to 26 to 18 seconds. The champion is quite good in solo queue, but it's not broken. So personally, I don't have a problem with Rek'Sai like in the jungle right now, so I don't see why she's getting nerfed, except for the fact that she has a high win rate in solo queue, but I don't think that she's too broken. So I actually don't think that this was needed, but I mean, I didn't play Rek'Sai, so I guess I have an easy matchup if somebody else up playing it, so I don't mind it, I guess. Sona, armor growth reduced, E cooldown increased, so her armor growth goes from 3.3 down to 3, and then her E cooldown goes from 12 seconds to 14 seconds flat. I haven't seen a ton of Sona, not gonna lie, but the few Sonas that I have been playing against are pretty good in mid-game. Simply because of Archangel staff. So again, I didn't really see Sona as a problem in solo queue, but I mean, not a champion that I'm playing, so I guess I don't mind it, but I don't see why it's here. Eclipse, the cooldown goes from 6 seconds to 8 seconds, so yeah, the melee champions gets a nerf, and the ranged ones will be the same. I don't think you will pick a different mythic item over Eclipse for melees just because of a 2-second increase. The only time where this nerf matters is in very few situations you will end up only being able to proc Eclipse once instead of twice, which seems like quite a big nerf, but in most situations just proccing it once should be enough for you to kill your opponent. So not the end of the world. I'm not exactly sure why it's getting nerfed, because I don't think it has the highest play rate or win rate. But yeah, it is what it is. Force of Nature goes from 5 seconds to 7 seconds to absorb stacks, and then the magic damage reduction goes from 20 to 25. The only champion where I see this being really good at could be... I mean, generally tanks are pretty good with it, right? But the first champion that comes to mind would be Hecarim. Now, I'm not exactly sure if... I see some Hecarim players build this item. And it seems like it's just a very unique item. Only a very few amount of champions are picking this item. But maybe this item will now be picked up more compared to some of the other MR items. So, not exactly sure why they're taking this approach. Maybe it's just to kind of get some more diversity in terms of the MR items that you can buy across the border for like more champions. But yeah, I mean, the champion or the item seems fine on some champions and just not viable on other ones. Immortal Shield Bow. Attack damage goes from 55 to 50, and the shield used to go from 300 to 800, and now goes from 275 to 650. So some people have been asking me about, will this affect Graves? Will this affect my carry Xin Zhao build? And yes, obviously it will, because it is a nerf, but you're basically going to have to take a look at what are the other builds that you can replace them with. So for Graves, it would be going for Lethality Graves instead with Eclipse that didn't get nerfed. And then same thing goes for Xin Zhao. You would also go either Goredrinker and Conquer, so like the standard Bruiser build, or you would go for the second carry build, which would be like Eclipse Essence Reaver, that type of thing. And Eclipse did get nerfed from melee, so yeah, I mean, both carry builds for Xin Zhao basically got nerfed, and for Graves, I mean, if you feel like the nerf are gonna be too big, you could go towards the Lethality, but if you plan on playing scaling Graves, you're still gonna go for Shield Bow anyway. So potentially a fair enough nerf. I don't mind it too much. So yeah. Let's move on to the next item. Wit's End. Wit's End gets a new build path, and then the MR goes down by 10. Pretty nice. I think Wit's End was pretty broken, because I see a lot of champions building this item, like Vayne, Akshan, any type of like ADC type champion. And yeah, I basically don't like items that are both defensive and offensive at the same time. So it's defensive because it gives like pretty good MR stats, right? And then it's offensive because of the attack speed and unhit damage. So I don't mind it. I think it's good that they nerf it. Sadly, it doesn't do much for my champion pool except for Arctis, but I think it's fine. Then we have Teleport. So Teleport gets changed that the first 14 minutes of the game you can only TP to towers, and then after 14 minutes then you can TP to like you normally would. And then the cooldown used to be 420 to 210, and now it is 360, so 6 minutes. And then that's before 40 minutes, and then after 40 minutes it goes down to 240, which is 4 minutes. So this is probably like the biggest change of the patch, and this basically allows the fact that TP cannot be used as easily to counter like 4v4 play on bot side, right? So top laners can't just TP, because they can only TP to the tower. So the only thing they can defend is either if they TP on the tower, but then they will be kind of off position, right? Or they can defend tower dives. So they still have that option. And I kind of like that, actually. It's a nice new approach, and I'm kind of excited to see how this will actually feel. But I'm just interested in change now, because I haven't seen change in forever, since preseason didn't really change much. Then we have rank season split and when it starts, and then we have decay. So you can now, this is for people that are diamond and above. So it used to be that after 10 days, then you, or after, oh, this is for Master Plus. For Master Plus players, you used to have 10 days of decay. So you could not play, or you could decide not to play for 10 days and still come back and be the same rank. But if you don't end up playing after 10 days, then you will decay and lose 250 LP per day. Now it's 14 days that you can be inactive without decaying. And if you end up decaying, instead of losing 250 LP per day, you now only lose 75 LP per day. And then what it used to be was that you would drop to Apex Decay Floor. So it used to be Diamond 1 and it goes down to Diamond 2. I'm actually not sure what they mean by Apex Decay Floor. Oh, Apex Decay Floor is where this specific decay would start. So this basically, it used to be from Diamond 1 and above, but now it's from Diamond 2 and above. So there's that. What I think about this change, personally I don't think it's that great, because it can make people kind of camp at high elo for longer, because first of all they have 4 more days where they can sit without playing, and then if they do end up decaying, then they only decay 75 instead of 250, which is a big change. And it also kind of ruins the decay strategy for MMR, where you decay your account so you go down in rank but keep the same MMR to get high LP gains and then go on a win streak. So by the time you get back to the rank you decayed from, you would have better LP gains than before you decided to decay. The Apex Decay Floor I think is nice, that it goes from D1 down to D2. It incentivizes people to play a little bit more, and makes the top of the ladder a little bit more competitive, even though Diamond 2 is not really at the top, but it just includes more people to play a little bit more often, like so from Diamond 1 to Diamond 2, but it also means that people have 4 more extra days of where they just can decide not to play. So yeah, the only time this is like good, in my opinion, is if you're going on a vacation. Now you can, instead of going on a 10-day vacation, you can go on a 14-day vacation without decaying, which is kind of nice. But besides that, I think that it is pretty negative for solo queue. Then we have some borders. You can see that yourself if you want to. We have some clash, we have some bug fixes. And we have an Elderwood Gnar skin and an Elderwood Rek'Sai skin. But Rek'Sai got nerfed, so nobody's gonna buy that. So Elderwood Gnar, I guess. There's something up here. Behavioral systems. Intentional feeding detection has been improved to evaluate more variables and will go live to all regions this patch. Okay. So intentional feeding should get basically detected more often than people would be punished. Actually, new objective bounties. Targets with active bounties now have different health bars to indicate the bounty status. I'm not sure what this means. But yeah, the patch overall, not the biggest patch, sadly, and Precis was nothing too crazy in terms of meta changing either. It kind of seems like Riot is happy with the current state of League of Legends, which in my opinion is a bit weird, because we've been playing kind of in the same meta for a very long time, and we still quite haven't balanced like all the champions to an acceptable level, in my opinion. So yeah, but that's the patch rundown, and hopefully in patch 12.2 someone at Riot decides that let's try and change tons of stuff, and then some more exciting stuff will happen. But yeah, there you have it.